So we had the British Sports Personality of the Year 2021 results on Sunday, which is an oxymoron. Like sports people don't have any personality. They're dead boring. As is sport. Sport is all boring as well, unless it's based on fighting. So yeah, somebody agreeing over there.
To be honest, I agree as well. I mean, it's the only sport I could probably watch that is good fun.
Yeah, totally. And if you're watching tennis or whatever and a fight breaks out in the stand, everybody turns and watches the fight. Whereas if you're at a boxing match and people start playing badminton in the corner, nobody turns and watches the badminton. And you know why that is? Because sport is inherently dull and fighting is interesting. So, and also sport, all this stuff. We'll get onto it anyway. But anyway,
Walk of you is just like, yeah, I want to fight.
Yeah, so we had the British Sports Personality of the Year. It was Emma Radukanu. She's great. She was the first British woman to win a tennis Grand Slam in 44 years, apparently, which is quite an achievement. Although it should be put in the context of she was playing women, so that makes it easier. If she was playing men, she might not have won. But yeah, first she went from nothing. She was like, I think she was a wild card entry to the US Open, and she won it. So well done, Emma. And she's like 19 years old, and she's like, I think she's Romanian and
Chinese.
Portuguese,
Yeah.
Chinese. She's a nice advert-friendly mix of ethnicities, and she seems like a very nice person. So yeah, good for her. Well done. But I don't care about the Sports Personality of the Year. It should have been Tyson Fury. He's the only one with a personality. So I've got the British Sports Wokesonality of the Year. This is the most woke British sports people. So we move on to...
So this is a show you've made up on your own?
I made this up myself.
Oh, neat. All right.
Yeah. So the number one is Lewis Hamilton. So this is all
Strong
the stuff
contender.
that Lewis Hamilton's done. So he's been done for speeding at 122 miles an hour in France and for doing a burnout in Australia. I mean, I know you think that might not be so bad, but what if he ran someone over and they turned out to be a minority or transgender? Then that would be bad. Also, the next tab. So you can see this is this is him.
What?
Trying to play the race card. So we can play I think that's on mute, but you can play this.
It's stupid.
Why do you think you're so magnetic to the stewards? Why do you think that you obviously feel that you're being targeted?
Maybe it's because I'm black. That's what Ali G says. I don't know.
So he later said he was trying to be funny by claiming that the stewards target him because he's black. But if he was trying to be funny, wouldn't it be funnier? I don't know. Also, I like the way he's styled his beard into a little chin strap. Yeah. That's not actually holding his cap on.
I do wonder, like, is he making the joke that they think he hasn't bought the car or something? I don't...
No, so the stewards, apparently the stewards were giving him lots of whatever boring nerd stuff they've got in this car racing thing.
I would believe that was a joke, except I also saw his new outfit that he's wearing. I don't know if you've seen his like, he's got the racial pride flag like put into the helmet.
Oh yeah, no, he's full on. Yeah, we'll see it in a moment. So yeah, but he's trying to give his chin more definition there. That's why he's got that chin strap. So yeah, the next tab. Now he's gone full woke. So you can see him here. He's like taking the knee. He's got like the Black Lives Matter t-shirt on. If you scroll down a bit more, he's doing like the Black Power salute. He's full woke. He demands statues of slavers are torn down. So you'd think he'd hate slavery, but unfortunately it seems he only hates slavery that happened 400 years ago. As he's completely happy to race.
Did you send any money to Libya to free the slaves?
No, and you know what? There's more slavery now than at any time in human history. More slavery now than at the peak of the transatlantic slave trade. And slaves are treated horrifically because, I mean, during the transatlantic slave trade, slaves actually had huge value, whereas now
the price of slaves has gone down too much.
It has.
It's a weird complaint, but okay.
No, it is. I mean, it's weird. If you're going to look at the basket of inflation, like slaves
should be part of the basket.
Slaves and plasma televisions have come right down.
Bread,
and
milk, slaves. The essentials.
House prices have shot up at the same time. But yeah, we're joking about it, but it's disgusting. There's all this slavery that happens in the Middle East. So
have you seen the auctions? Like the secret footage of it.
Yeah. Well, it's not secret. You can watch it. But yeah, Libya, they've got open slave markets. But obviously, wokists don't care about it because it's not being done by white people. And it's only white people who are allowed to be bad. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton, happy to race in Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. These are countries with horrific human rights records. Here he is wearing a, what's it called? The thing that on top, it's called like a Kobe or something like that.
For people listening, he's wearing a very traditional Arab dress, shall we say, with the full...
When we say
outfit.
Traditional, I mean, it could be Sid James in a Carry On movie. This is what we're talking. This is full-on Benny Hill movie.
Yeah,
like
I'm
Benny
thinking
Hill.
Yes Minister. When Humphrey's dressed in it.
This is like the easiest fancy dress costume you had when it was 1984 and you're allowed to. But yeah, so he's gone to Bahrain and he's still wearing the chains which signify all the slavery stuff. But Bahrain has a huge problem with slavery. 1.9 people in every 1,000 in Bahrain are slaves.
Did he give a speech about this?
He didn't. He said he loved Bahrain and he loved the culture, which
really?
I assume includes keeping slaves.
I love the culture of slavery. Do you know this?
So there's an estimated 30,000 slaves in Bahrain. It's a tiny country. There's only like I think 1.5 million people. And it's a hub for human trafficking as well. So it's got lots of money, very poor human rights oversight. So lots of slavery. And if we move on to the next tab, his hypocrisy gets even worse. So he took money from Kingspan, the company that made the cladding that went on the Grenfell Tower that burnt all those people. I think 77 people died. The Grenfell Tower disaster. I mean, there's some doubt over how many people died because so many of them were subletting. So they don't have the correct records. But yeah, so his car had the Grenfell had this company that made this cladding on the side of the car, and he could have advertised. He could have stuck, the Grenfell Tower on the side and shown the victims that he cared about them, and he was still, he wanted them to get justice soon. But instead, him and his team wanted the money from Kingspan, so they put this. And then when they apologised, they basically reprinted the Kingspan press release. They said. They said all this stuff. Kingspan, weren't told that it was going to be used in this way, and it was only a small part of their product, and all this sort of stuff. And actually, that's bollocks. They should have at least researched and seen if Kingspan were telling the truth.
Or just, take another company.
Or just take another company. I'm sure somebody else could. It's maybe a company that doesn't burn people to death would want to advertise on your car. So yeah, so it's hugely offensive to victims of the Grenfell Tower disaster. Also hugely offensive to Formula One racers who used to burn to death in their cars back when Formula One was interesting because there was a bit of jeopardy. Now you might as well just get some marbles in a hose and roll them down because they'll come out in the same order. It's just boring now. I miss the days when they used to and when you see the tyre flying into the stand, just take out a family. Oh my god, that was entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, wholesome entertainment for all the family.
We only had
that one.
We only had 4 channels on the TV, but oh my god, like when you watched it, it's amazing. It's amazing. Senna days. That's right. That is right, John. Ayrton Senna. I think he crashed, didn't he? He was one of the last people who crashed. There's been like two crashes in Formula One in the last like 20 years. It's ridiculous. They need to sort it out and make it more dangerous.
We need more. So.
Yeah, we need more. They should.
My manifesto promises: elect me, and I'll have more crashes in Formula One.
Yeah.
I'd vote for it.
Maybe give them weapons or something. And if we move on, that's not the only hypocrisy he's done. So he's all like, oceans and forests are being destroyed. But if you scroll down, he's actually. Has he got a picture? This isn't. Oh yeah, up. So here he is. He's done this tweet. He's done this tweet about the oceans are being destroyed. He's on a speedboat. He's talking about the environment. He's on a speedboat.
Well,
do you know how bad speedboats are for the environment?
It's an incredibly important use of that speedboat and the petrol in it, which is to take his dog for a ride there.
That's like me saying, the water quality in the Thames is bad. I'm literally tweeting myself doing a shit in the Thames. Like this is it's the most blatant hypocrisy. Like speedboats, so he's burning. They're so inefficient. I mean, it's completely unnecessary as well. It's purely for leisure.
That dog's having a good time.
But they burn so much petrol, and if you're using petrol, that means you're getting the petrol out of the ground. You're paying these oil companies to get it out of the ground, transport it across the ocean, and then the ships hit an iceberg or whatever and have the oil spill, which is bad for the ocean, which he's then complaining about. He's also causing noise pollution that disturbs whales. Where
is he?
He's burning oil, so that's contributing to climate change. So the sea levels are rising.
I'm just going to say that doesn't really look like the UK to me.
No, he's somewhere nice and sunny. Do you think he'd be wearing a t-shirt and a speedboat speedboat if it was in the UK. So yeah, that looks somewhere in Monaco or somewhere. Yeah,
Nice
so
little tax haven.
yeah, tax haven, which I'm not sure what Lewis Hamilton's financial affairs are, but all the other sports stars in this list dodge their taxes. So number two is Marcus Rashford. So he campaigns for poverty, campaigns to end poverty,
for
not
poverty.
pro-poverty. I campaign for poverty, but I think there's only a certain number of pies in the world, and there's not enough for everybody. So you've got to stop people getting access to those pies. But yeah, he's bought all these luxury homes, and people said the Daily Mail was giving him a hard time. I thought this was quite a celebratory article saying what a result. He's the campaigning football star Marcus Rashford has bought 5 luxury homes worth more than £2 million. And what I want to know is, like, you know, all the people came out. He himself defended it as saying. He was saying he was investing in his future and his family's future, and it's like, well, that's great, but that is literally that's the motivation of every evil right-wing Tory landlord that the Guardian hates. So why is Marcus Rashford or Patrice Cullors from Black Lives Matter, why are they celebrated for becoming rentier capitalist landlords?
Yes, it's not very communist of you, comrade, to be a landlord.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's great that he does. It's great to see, a young person investing for the future instead of blowing their money on something stupid. But why is he celebrated for it when other people, normally the Guardian readers are like, oh, evil landlords, eat the rich, we should have caps on rent and all this sort of stuff. But for Marcus Rashford, it's great. And so next tab, Patrice Cullors did the same thing with money she made from Black Lives
Money she
Matter.
made.
Isn't that insane?
3
Isn't that insane?
million.
Like, so people give money to this Marxist organisation and it goes to, I mean, I guess it's like every Marxist in history.
I mean, to be fair, we should be quite pleased. I mean, more landlords in the world, therefore, technically less communism, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or at least if the communists do take over, they'll be killing their own. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, people are communists. Communists are communists until they get some money.
Yes.
And then they suddenly become hardcore Tories.
I'm a
And
libertarian,
It's
don't
great
you
to
know?
see. It's great to see, the people's principles are completely soluble in money. And the next tab we can see, so Marcus Rashford has been campaigning for free school meals, and he really did. I mean, I thought it was great. Fair enough. He was acting as the government's de facto opposition, that Labour were doing nothing, but he actually forced political change, and he forced the government to provide these free school meals, which, even though I'm a bit of a dick and a joke about wanting people in poverty, I think it'll reduce the number of problems we have in the future if students, kids eat enough food, can get an education, and all the
I
rest
probably
of it.
should mention the counter argument, because I imagine some people will be in the comments without anyway, which is just, of course, there's the principled debate about whether or not it's the parents' responsibility to feed children or the state's responsibility.
Well, this is the thing. Like,
there are good arguments on both sides.
this is the thing. I thought it was really unfair that everybody's like, oh, the people are starving under the government. It's like the government's job isn't. The government's not there to wipe your arse. The government's there to do as little as possible and get out of your way so that you can make a life for yourself. And to be honest, I don't, man, there's some useless parents out there. If you can't make a living under, in the UK, under free market democracy, it's
feed a
pretty
child.
easy. It's so easy to get a job.
Yeah.
It's so easy. All you need to do is work hard and not take lots of drugs.
The counter argument, obviously, being that you get those parents, and therefore it's not the kid's fault. So we'll just step in and do it.
That's yeah.
Let's not rehash.
So I don't think Marcus Rashford should be campaigning for the government to feed the parents. They can maybe take some of their heroin money and spend it on chips. But yeah, if we move on to the next thing, fair enough, he did that, but maybe the government would have more tax to spend on free school dinners. Maybe it would have already paid for the free school dinners if all these sports stars didn't dodge their tax. If all these wokists who say, oh, the government should do this, the government should do that, actually paid the money to the government as they should. So Marcus Rashford, he's got this, basically if you're super rich, you can get accountants to set up, companies for you. And then you can pay yourself. I've got friends who work as contractors or whatever who do this, and they pay themselves dividends or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The way Marcus Rashford has done it is so he gave himself a salary of just under £5,000. So that's obviously not the money he's spending for the year. He gave himself a £950,000 director's loan. Now, what this means is he doesn't need to pay tax on the loan because it's a loan, but also he's like he owns the company that's loaned himself the money, so he doesn't need to pay the loan back because it's paying it back to himself. This is a really kind of quite a devious and nasty way of avoiding paying tax, and I think it's a loophole that the government should be closing until I get rich enough to use it myself.
If he's also obsessed with the idea that, well, we should be providing food to the needy, well, just donate that money to a food shelter.
Yeah,
it's not hard.
And he's saying the government should do it. So basically he's saying the government should tax us, should tax me and you and all the other people out there who don't have the resources to set up these tax avoidance mechanisms. So he's looking good by saying, the government should provide these free school meals. We're the ones that are paying for it.
He's the one saying, you should pay for this. By the way, I'm keeping my money.
Yeah.
I was like, dude,
absolutely.
you're richer than us. You can give it away if you need to.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot to like about Marcus Rashford. I love how he invests for the future, and he's sensible, he's politically aware and stuff. But I think this is just
sensible tax planning. I mean, what's not to
yeah,
love? Like,
yeah. I mean, I've got no sort of problem with this if it chimed with the principles he presents to everyone. This is just tax avoidance, and it's bad if you're going to be a wokester claiming that everybody else should be paying for it. So number 3, it's Gary Lineker. So Gary Lineker is also super rich. He's got a net worth of £30 million. He makes £1.75 million a year from the BBC. I think he's actually negotiated it. It's been negotiated down, so it's £1.35 million now. And he makes about £1.5 million a year from his deal with Walker's Crisps, and then there's all the other things that he does as well. So he makes loads of money. And if we move on to the next tab, he was actually asked, if you scroll down, he was asked about the crisp sponsorship, because this is the thing, man. He's like advertising crisps. And crisps are bad for you. And he's a sports star, so he's associating, health and athletic prowess with crisps. And crisps aren't healthy. And we've got a rocketing problem with obesity in this country. So you'd think a sports star should be trying to get people to eat oats or fresh fruit or something like that. He's not. And he says if you scroll down, you can see, where is it? When asked about the crisp sponsorship in sport in a GQ interview, Gary said, crisps are fine, they do no harm at all. Actually, they're very high fat, very high in sodium, they've got no nutritional benefit whatsoever, so they are bad. And the UK has got hundreds of thousands of people suffering from chronic obesity, partly as a result of sitting on their couch watching Match of the Day and eating Walker's Crisps. They've got chronic illnesses, early deaths, also they look terrible on the beach, and then I've got to look at them, and I don't want that. So it's extremely cynical of him to be.
I really wish politicians justified their policies by just being like, I just don't want fat people around. For their health.
Yeah,
I just don't want to look at them.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to remember. I mean, if we're gonna have, we talk about the perception of a crime, perception of speech and stuff. What about the perception of me looking at some fat biff on the beach?
It's a hate crime against my vision.
It is. Nobody wants to look at that.
It's an offence on the eyes.
So yeah, I just think it's really bad for it's like advertising cigarettes in the 60s before doctors. I mean, people knew that cigarettes were bad for you back then, but they were still got sports stars advertising Marlboros and stuff and saying, oh no, they're healthy. It's like, well, they're not. They're killing loads of people. So Gary Lineker is implicated in the deaths of tens of thousands of people from obesity. So what else has he done? He's been tweeting at the government to treat asylum seekers better, and he actually opened up his house to take in a refugee. Did
he though?
Yeah, he did.
He did actually do it.
Well, apparently that's what it says in the papers. That's what he says.
Any evidence?
He said he did. I read a thank you letter from the refugee. So unless he wrote it himself with his left hand, I think he did do it. But it was just for 3 weeks. So I mean, it's not a huge amount of time. But
how many houses does he have?
Well, he's probably got quite a few houses because
one refugee, 3 weeks.
Yeah,
that's my bit done. I'm off.
But still, I mean, it brings the total number of refugees housed by woke people up to a grand total of 1. So, I mean, at least he's done a little bit of a bit.
I mean, Nicola Sturgeon said she'd take a refugee, never did.
Oh God! I mean, haven't they suffered enough already? I mean, jeez, I'd want to go back to Syria. I'd be like, come on, take me, Assad, take me. I'll eat your mustard gas. So yeah, next tab. He's also given a bunch of money to charity, but is it his money? He's avoided paying £4.9 million of tax because he's also got some sort of like weird tax avoidance thing where he says he's not an employee of the BBC. So he says because you're not an employee, he shouldn't be taxed as an employee. He's like he says he's
Gary Lineker Limited is getting paid.
Exactly. And then he can pay himself with whatever.
Gary Lineker was never
dodgy
paid.
offshore
Only Gary
stuff.
Lineker Limited.
Yeah. So people do this a lot. Rich people do this a lot. It's happened with other people. I can't. Oh, who's the other ones? I can't. Anyway, I can't remember.
I'm
But
going to speak in his defense though. Kind of based. Like.
I'm
not a fan of paying
the
tax.
thing with these people, if they're then criticising the government for not spending enough money,
Sure.
and then they're not giving the government enough money.
But you said he donated the money that he was meant to give to government.
Oh
right?
no! He's given like a
Not
few
based.
$100,000 to charity or whatever. And also, man, I don't think people if we just relied on charity to do everything that the government should be doing, like providing, like before the NHS, so healthcare was provided by charity. But look at what people give to charity. Like if we had charities doing it instead of the government, we'd have like donkey sanctuaries would be the best hospitals in the country. You know what I mean? Like stray dog sanctuaries, they'd be like, and then you'd have a hospital for like, people with actual illnesses, and they'd be getting no money because
Just be a
people like
business
donkeys
idea.
more than people. But yeah, he actually used, so all his political tweets where he tweets the government and complains and harangues them to spend more money or let refugees in or whatever, he said that means that shows that he's not an employee, because an employee wouldn't be able to act as a political activist. So all his virtue signaling woke lefty tweets are actually part of his tax avoidance. And notice I said avoidance, not evasion, because evasion's illegal. Avoidance. He's avoided. He's avoision.
Can we make that any more clear?
Tax avoision. So
That actually puts a new light on it.
it's interesting,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean, it's almost like it's a calculated thing to not only boost his profile, so he gets all those advertising campaigns and all these hosting. He hosted the BBC Sports Personality of the Year. So he gets all that stuff, but also he then doesn't have to pay tax because he's like, look, I'm not an employee because
Hang on, wait. So that means the refugee took for 3 weeks in one home. It's a part of his tax avoidance.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if a woke person will ever do something genuinely out of the goodness of their heart.
I'm not even mad. I'm in awe.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like Kaiser Soze at the end of Usual Suspects. Just it's amazing. So yeah, Gary Lineker. I've got to say, yeah, I'm pretty impressed with that. But you're definitely a hypocrite. Number 4 is Azim Rafiq. So he's the guy, he's a Yorkshire cricketer who blew the whistle on racist bullying. And he did, I mean, it sounded horrific. It was sustained, like loads of people were on it. It was like, it was brutal, racist bullying. If you look at the, and he had beer poured over him, which, he's a Muslim, so it's alcohol, so that's bad. If you look at the next slide, then in the fallout, it turned out that he had also indulged in a bit of the old racism himself. So he sent anti-Semitic messages.
Oh, of course it's Jews. Of course it's Jews. How can I guess?
I mean, in fairness to him, his messages, it's private messages to another player, so it's not a sustained campaign of bullying. It's not open. So I've got, it's definitely on a different level, but it's still anti-Semitism. And also, it's got to be seen in the context of anti-Semitism has been soaring in the UK, partly because woke people tolerate it and they think it's good. Woke people tolerate it. Woke people usually cause it. If you look at, Jeremy Corbyn, all the leftists. Jeremy Corbyn's aide was just recently sued by Rachel Riley, and Rachel Riley won. So Jeremy Corbyn's former aide is now, I don't know how many,
10 grand.
10 grand, but plus there'll be legal costs as well. So, that'll be the entire, even if every left-wing person in the country gets their savings together, they won't be able to cover that.
Well, I do want to mention the statistics on this because I happen to know them, which is that Jewish hate crimes against Jews in this country, Jews are overrepresented by, I think, 300% or something like that,
Yeah.
and Muslims are underrepresented
Yeah.
as a proportion of the population.
Yeah, because people, for some reason, people see Muslims as a minority and Jews as not a minority, when in fact there's a tiny number of Jews, not just in the UK, but worldwide. We're talking like tens of millions, whereas there's 2.9 billion Muslims, and there's vastly more.
The fastest growing religion. Anyway.
Yeah, vastly more Muslims in the UK than there are Jews. And you saw the horrific. I know it was instigated by the attacks and counterattacks between Israel and Gaza. But there's horrific, like open abuse, cars driving through Jewish neighborhoods shouting slurs at people.
Oh, that was in London. That wasn't in Gaza.
Yeah, that was in London, and that's what we're seeing in this country. I know Jewish friends who don't feel comfortable in the UK anymore, don't feel comfortable in London anymore, and they're talking about moving to Israel where they'll feel safer because they will be. So Azim Rafiq, anti-Semitism, can't be. It's serious as well. And it was also revealed in the next tab that he'd sent creepy and vulgar messages to a teenage girl. So he met this 16-year-old girl on a plane. She said she was 17. And he drank vodka with her. And then he messaged her. He got her number and he was messaging her afterwards. And he said, "You know what I wanted to do on the plane? I want to grab you, push you up against wall and kiss you." It's ridiculous.
Push you up against wall.
What, one of those curved walls in a plane?
Hang on, but just the English there for a minute.
People, it's text message. I mean, it doesn't sound like the sharpest tool.
Do you know the Panjeet meme where it's like show Bobson for Gene?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it comes off to me. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's lucky he's good at chucking a cricket ball at people because he's not very good at poetry. But he then said, so she said, "Do you realise I'm only 17? She texted back. Maybe she was 17 by this point. This was after they'd met on the plane. He replied to her, "Does that mean it not allowed to want to kiss me? And would you have let me kiss you?" So surprisingly, that didn't get him his hole. I mean, it's not exactly the worst thing a Muslim man's done to a teenage girl in the north of England. But
it is also illegal in this country because 16 is the age of consent, so at least it's above there.
Oh, right,
So,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
minimal points, but...
What about
points.
the alcohol, though?
The alcohol, well, it's not very Islamic of him, no.
Yeah, it's not very... And also, the age for drinking alcohol is 18. So he drank vodka with her on the plane.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
And also, part of his thing about the racist bullying was, they poured beer on me. And... Well, you're drinking vodka, so...
That's not un-Islamic either. Like, if I remember correctly, you're not meant to get intoxicated, is the phrase.
Oh, really?
Prophet use. So you're not meant to get drunk.
Right.
It's not, you can't be around a pint.
Right.
You can be in the room with a pint. I don't know what he's talking about.
Right. Does it extend to other drugs? Because, some of my Muslim friends, they won't drink, but they'll do other drugs.
It does extend to drugs.
Right.
The only exceptions are, of course, medical or you didn't know.
Right.
Yeah. It's why orange juice is technically allowed, even though it's got a small amount of alcohol, because you can't get intoxicated off it.
Right. Cool. I didn't know orange juice had alcohol in it.
Next Quranic verses with Callum, I don't know, next week. The next one.
And then number 5 on my list of the wokest British sports stars is the New Zealand transgender weightlifter Laurel Hubbard.
The last candidate.
Yeah, the last candidate. So she competed as a mediocre male athlete up until her 30s and then transitioned and became an award-winning female athlete. So, I mean, we're seeing this. Female sports is becoming a retirement community for terrible male athletes. And I mean, if you scroll down, if you look at the picture of her, I mean, what a beautiful lady! Oh, my. Hey, little... Hey, little lady.
I love your description.
Do you want a vodka on the plane? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I totally believe that, transgender women should be treated as women. They are, well, the hot ones are women. And but Laurel Hubbard, I mean, come on.
No,
you literally look like Oliver Hardy. Just you shaved his little moustache off. Like that is, I don't know. I just think that's ridiculous. It just makes a mockery of the whole thing, and it actually draws attention and draws transphobic, angry, transphobic ire towards the transgender community, who mostly just want to get on with their lives and not be associated with like a biological male coming in and dominating female sports. Because going through male puberty gives athletes certain advantages. So you get greater bone density, bigger skeletons, stronger muscle mass. It's easier to parallel park outside the stadium. Hey-o! Little joke there.
She can break records in the female sports now.
Yeah, she lost in the Olympics. She didn't win. If you look at the next tab, but I've got a joke about Laurel Hubbard.
Is it Laurel Hubbard?
There she is. I mean, wow, what a lady! I mean, fucking hell. I know I shouldn't swear, but like, come on.
Fair.
But yeah, I've got a joke about Laurel Hubbard. I don't know where she got her gender reassignment surgery done, but apparently she's got a 135 kilogram snatch.
Yeah.
It's a great joke.
Weightlifting jokes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And yeah, so that's it from. And also, I know she's not British, but she can just identify as British. And yeah, so Gary Lineker wins because he dodged the most tax. But the only sports star at the moment who's actually got a personality is Tyson Fury, as he says himself. So he threatened to sue the BBC because he got nominated for Sports Personality of the Year, and he's the only guy with a personality. He gets a lot of stick from wokeists who criticise him for his opinions, because he's quite a religious guy. He's like some kind of Christian.
Didn't he give up a load of his money recently?
Did he what?
Did he give up a load of his money recently?
Yeah, he donates a lot to charity, and it's actually his money, not money he's dodged paying tax on with the government, but. He gets criticised for being for having poor opinions on homosexuality, and because he reads the Bible and it all comes from the Bible.
Person.
He's very, very Christian, not a reformed Christian, but quite sort of old school, and so he gets criticised for that. But like in his defence, he spends all his time getting really good at punching people in the face, and he's the best in the world at that. He doesn't spend as much time making sure his opinions match with the latest, full-on like gender studies. So you've got these gender studies graduates who are like, oh my God, his opinions on gender are so terrible. It's like, yeah, but you're terrible at boxing.
You couldn't punch for toffee.
Yeah, you can punch toffee. So why can't we criticise you for being bad at boxing? So I think a way to solve it would be Tyson Fury and these gender studies graduates get in the ring. First, they have an opinion off, and we can see who's got the best opinions, and then they can see who's the best at punching people in the face.
First man to die loses.
Yeah. Death match.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this video, which Carl and John Wheatley did together, looking at the politics of Star Trek and whether or not it's socialism or liberalism. And the answer may surprise you. So go and check that out. And if you'd like to get updates on everything we produce on the site, you can also follow us on getter.com with lotuseaters_com being the @. Thank you and goodbye.